habitats that I visited from last year's field trip. That is from New Mexico, South New Mexico, and all the way back to West Texas. So at the end of the program, I hope you find the answer to the question, are hard to grow desert plants hard to grow in Houston? We'll see. Here's an outline of tonight's program. I'm going to talk about especially the geology of New Mexico because it is really interesting. If you go to travel, I would say that the scenery and the geology of New Mexico is wonderful, it's fabulous. But when you come back to the Texas part, our plants, the variety of plants will be more than you find in New Mexico. So we really had a lot of fun appreciating the geology of New Mexico, but we had a lot of fun finding many different kinds of species of plants in Texas. So here we go. The trip happened last year in May. We left Albuquerque, New Mexico on our way back to Houston, and we drove past this Carrizozo Malpais. It is a large lava flow west of Carrizozo, New Mexico. You don't get to see a lot of places like this in the world. And we were attracted by a huge and phenomenal geological feature. So we decided to stop and see it. So we went on this trail. It says Malpais Nature Trail. So this is what we could see from a distance on the trail. It was May 22nd when we visited. And I would like to tell you about the average high temperature on the spring day of this area. So during the day, it's about 70 Fahrenheit. And at night, it's much colder. It's in the 40s. Did you notice a huge difference in the temperatures from day to night? This is very typical to see in the desert environment. So this is springtime that we got to see many happy plants. In winter, you know that there are a lot of hard freezing nights in this area. So these plants have to survive all these conditions. But compared to Houston, the highest temperature here in summer is in the 90s. During the day, well, similar. But at night, in summer night, their temperature is in the 60s. You may be imagining how toasty hot this black lava surface are under the sun. And you're right, they are very hot. So only the toughest plants can survive here. I will tell you why later in the presentation. So this satellite image shows the Carrizozo Malpais. It is 75 kilometers. Converting to miles, it's about 130 miles. It's a long black basaltic lava flow area. The lava is slowly moving and it is active. Yeah, it is active. Here on the next image, I'm going to show you this. So on the left, there's an image about an active Hawaiian lava flow, the picture taken in the 1980s. But this is actually very similar to the Carrizozo lava flow. This area is formed by magma, which is molten rock. It is pulling out from a small crack, which is here in the black circle. So it's pulling out from this very small crack on the Earth's surface. This type of eruption is very passive, and it is typically characterized by lava pouring from a very small vent and then traveling either across the Earth's surface or through a series of lava tubes until it cools and solidifies. So there is estimates about the entire Carrizozo eruption. It would have taken between 2 to 3 decades to form. The entire process is very slow and steady. At the time of the eruption, the Carrizozo lava flow may have looked like the photo shown on the left, but it really takes time to cool down. And you can see at the black circle, the vent is at the north end of the lava field. It's very small. It's only about 27 meters tall, but this very small vent, it has produced the entire area of the lava flow that forms the Malpas. So you can see on this very vague line that is going across this area. This is highway 380. So that's where we drove across. So we see the whole thing. It's just amazing. I'm going to tell you more about it because I am fascinated about this. So this slide shows the features of the Carrizozo Malpas. All these features were formed during the time that the lava was actively flowing. And then the surface begins to cool. Underlying, there are hot lavas still flowing. So the cooler surface is dragged along by the flowing lava underneath. That forms all kinds of features that from the surface you can see. And you can, I believe you can also see there are plants that is also flowing along with the lava. Some that is collapsing into the holes. And it's for these plants, I think it is a race of life against the lava flow. That's why I said only very tough plants can survive here. So the reason why this area is called Malpas is because this the term Malpas translates to bad footing. So if you want to walk on foot on this surface, it's slow and difficult. Travel by the animals, such as the cattle and horses, muleys, is nearly impossible. That's how the name comes from. So this is Rodo, this little guy. He's on the trail and he's trying to touch the surface of these different lava rocks. So well, not to our surprise, you can guess the red one feels warm, but the black one is much hotter. And just try to imagine if you are going to do a landscape in Houston, you're going to lay these rocks on your landscape. Do you think it's a good idea or not? I wouldn't do it because, you know, in there with the black lava, some plants can still live and they don't mind the heat. Specifically, in the desert, it's very different than in Houston because in the city of Houston, we have zero elevation and the air is almost stagnant. But in the desert, it's always windy. So when the wind blows on the surface, it actually carries away a lot of the heat. So the surface is hot by the time the sun shines on it, but because of the constant air movement and the wind, it doesn't stay hot for an extensive length of time. So that's the takeaways from the desert. That's the difference between the desert environment to our tropical Houston. And this is some of the plants that we saw on the nature trail. On the left here, it's a Yucca intermedia. It is coming into flowers in late spring. On the right, it's a Opuntia arizonica, maybe. I posted this picture online and I was toasted by the Opuntia experts because they were fighting for which Opuntia it's supposed to be. They couldn't reach an agreement. So let's just call it a Opuntia species. It has very large pads and I am really impressed to see how beautiful the flower is and also these spines. My goodness, I admire flowers and spines at the same time. But instead of arguing over the names, I think it's more important for us and for everybody too to study the role of plants in an ecosystem instead of fighting over names. Because, you know, plants are providers and plants, they actually support a lot of lives for insects and animals. So I think that's more of the important thing to look at. Oh, okay. So this beautiful plant, it's an Apache plum. Plum. It looks like it is dancing in the wind. with its beautiful flowers. I have seen them at many places in New Mexico, but never in Texas. Here at the volcanic Melpas, there are huge numbers of these plants. So it looks like they thrive here better than in anywhere else, which is very surprising to see. And now here, it's a yucca. This yucca is very interesting because the reason why this yucca can carry on life is because a moth, it is a moth that pollinates specifically for these flowers. So this yucca is Yucca baccata. It's the nickname, has the nickname of banana yucca, pollinated solely by a female yucca moth. The yucca moth lay eggs on when she visits the flowers of different plants. So that way the flowers got pollinated. Meanwhile, she also lays eggs into the lava flower into the yucca flowers. So and then the larvae will hatch into the flower and in the fruits. So the larvae consume the fruit and at the same time disperse the seeds for the yucca. This is the detail of the fruits. It's huge green fruits. I think it's about the size of a fist. Yep. And now this plant is the nickname for. Let me explain the Latin name first. So it's Chilopsis linearis. The Chilopsis means lip-like, lip resembling. That is referring to the flower. So this flower is pollinated solely by large bees, and then after getting pollinated, it forms the seed pod. The seeds has wings, so the seeds will get dispersed by wind after the seed pod opens. Oh, this one, many of you might have known about this. This is a honey mesquite. So growing at this habitat, I've seen those a lot. But this plant is actually belonging to the pea family. The stems are very thorny, and I can't even explain how sweet smelling these flowers are. I was wondering where does the sweet smell comes from, and then I turn around and I see this huge mesquite. So since this is related to the pea family, after the flowers got pollinated by bees, or attracts tons of bees to pollinate these flowers. So the flowers will turn into long pods of legumes. The dry legumes can be grounded into powder to make mesquite meal, and that's actually a staple of the endogenous diet. Our next stop is the White Sands National Park. Which is a very amazing geological feature that I think you have a lot of fun visiting. So my kids want to experience the sand sledding in the park. I think every kid wants to do that. So of course we want to let them do it. But also my main goal here is to find the giant Clarence cup cactus, which is by the Latin name Echinocereus glaccidiatus, former white sands, giant white sands. So let me call them CHIG for short in our presentation. This is the parking lot that we park our cars and let the kids to go explore. So the sky is very beautiful, but the light is also so bright that I couldn't take many good pictures for it. I had to dim my camera in order to do the pictures. And here you can see the pure white sand dunes that they look like snow, and the light is super intense, and it just keep reflecting into my glasses and my camera. It's really hard to take pictures, so I have to borrow one from my Facebook friend Andrew Tooth. What do you think of finding a cactus here? Possible? You think so?
The sand is cool.
Yeah, the sand is cool, but I have to tell you, it's impossible to find a cactus here. I will tell you why later in the presentation. But this place is perfect for the kids to play and try sand sledding. You should try. Well, next time if you go with your kids, I suggest you should buy or rent a sand sled, the plastic one from online, or you can buy one from the visitor center. Yes, well, the sand, it's actually pretty moist from the bottom. So we bought some cardboard boxes for the kids to slide, but you see later, you see what happens. So this is what you see on TV, okay? And they were so excited about this. But look, this is reality. Zero movement. Yes. So the sand actually got hold up quite a lot of moisture, especially in springtime. And we were there after some rain from the previous days. So the moisture level in the sand, it just feels like you're at a beach.
I think this thing is very like a castle of sand.
Yes. So
with a tree on it.
yeah, so the big tree on top of this sand dune, the root system holds on, catches all the sand. So that's why it looks like a castle. We'll see.
Sand castle.
Yeah, we'll see some of these features later too. So these two kids, they spend all their energy trying to drag along each other. And now it's perfect time for us to hop into the car to find cactus. Here we are. After the kids got tired, we drove around and started to look for potential places. And here's one good spot that you can find many good plants, you see. So let's look around and see what happens. Especially if you see these tall succulent grass living, it's a good spot to find good cactus. Oh, this is the first one we find, a cholla. A tree cholla, Cylindropuntia imbricata. Usually, if you see some of these or a puntia, it's more likely that you can find something else. So that's the tips that if you go hiking, try to find these most common ones and look around the area and see if you can find something else. So I kept walking and looking far, almost overlooked on this old giant cactus in front of me. Here it is. Did you find it on the screen? Yeah. I was very excited. It is hard to tell from this about the size from the picture, but I can tell you these are actually about 2 feet tall. Yes, so this is the biggest species of Echinocereus triglochidiadis. That's why they call former white sands, the giant form. So these cacti, what's neat about them is they have a huge root system spreading out to take in lots of water from summer thunderstorms, and they can hold on to the very fine and moving sand. But back in 2011, this area had an extreme cold spell. So once the temperature fell down to minus 31 Celsius, but these plants survived the extreme cold. So here are some pictures that I took later on. I found 4 to 5 clumps of these giant chicks. You can see they actually appreciate a company of nursing plants, such as the grass and there's one plant that's on the left side. This plant is called a phaedro. This is a plant that it can produce some hallucinating substances. So I think many years ago, there are supplements that made with ephedrine, but now it is banned in the US. So if you look at the picture on the left, there's a hollow space at the base of the plant. So places like these, usually the critters, rodents like to make their home in there. And it's not uncommon to find snakes in the desert too. So when you go hiking, it's better to look out for those critters. Don't step in them. But usually during the day they're hiding away. So try to avoid hiking after the sun sets. So let me see the next slide. show some pretty flowers. We were lucky because this is the last one that was in flowers at the time we visited. And I think this is the last flower from them from the season. Then do you know why the other ones have already finished flowering, but this one is still in flower? Because this one is facing east. So it only gets morning full sun. The rest of the day is in part shade. The other ones are out in full sun. So this clump actually grows somewhat smaller and slower compared to the other clumps. So when you try to house your plants at home, you can sometimes I cheat it because if I want to pollinate two plants, but I want them to flower together, one is slower than the others. So I will try to move the one that's a little bit slower to a sunnier and warmer place to help them to catch up with the timing. So what's neat about these flowers is that usually when you have a cactus flower, they open up the flower during the day, but they close at night. But this trick, the flower stays open for the entire blooming period, even at night. Yeah. Yes, thank you. And I really want to show you this interesting picture. It's shared with me by Mr. Stephen Bragg. He was the speaker for our January program. So he shared this picture with me because what's neat about this picture is, do you see the white sand dune is trying to move forward? It looks like it is engulfing the plant that's in front of it. So we named this picture as the yakas is trying to run away from the sand dune, or the moving sand dune is trying to bury the yaka. And Mr. Bragg, he didn't think the yaka can grow tall fast enough to escape this. But I think that they'll be fine because all these plants are working together to catch all the sand, and it's going to stop the dune from moving forward. And look at the majestic looking E-trick at the front of this photo. I think it is fabulous. Look at these.
Why does he have a plant top?
I want to point with my hand. I think that's cool. So this is a ocotillo. It's a very commonly seen plant, all the way from central New Mexico to West Texas. But they begin to disappear after you travel past Del Rio and moving eastbound, because the ocotillos, they really need a lot of air movement, and they need excellent drainage to survive. If you see them from nature in habitats, you realize that in most 90% of the cases, they like to live on one side of the cliff that gets full sun all day, and whenever it rains, the water is going to drain down all the way fast. So if you would ask me, hey, are you going to try to grow this in the ground in Houston? My answer is no. It's not going to make it. We're too wet for this plant. But it's a good idea if you want to try to grow it in a pot. You just have to get ready to upgrade the pots for it year after year. So leaving the white sands, we made a short stop at this place. It is on the roadside of Highway 82. There are many small agaves. These agaves are only about 6 inch across, 6 to 8 inch across, including with the tip. It's a very small one compared to the other larger species, and it's super hardy. It can be hardy to -20 Fahrenheit in winter, and it can tolerate great heat in summer too. I don't know where we can find seeds, but I am really interested in growing this in Houston. So, and on the same habitat, we find a very cute Escobaria vivipara. This one is New Mexicana with white spines. So I think by the time you might have already noticed the geology already changed. So from the South New Mexico, you seldom see these limestone outcrops, but by the time we are approaching to West Texas, you start to see these limestone outcrops. They are very abundant now. So this vivipara, Neo-Mexicana, is living together with the agave that you see. But among the grass, you will be able to find more of these vivipara because they really love to thrive together with the grass versus the agave, they're almost out by themselves with nothing around. Here's another one. This one, well, there are a lot of them with buds on top of them. They're going to flower during the hottest time in summer. So here I'm picking up one piece of the limestone. We were examining the soil and the rocks. Now this little guy, he is exploring together with me on the roadside of Pecos, Texas. This place is near Highway 285. Well, we spotted these plants driving at 75 miles per hour because we can spot something red among the green grass. That is the Echinocactus texensis, nicknamed horse crippler cactus. So, so these ones, they are bearing juicy, fresh fruits. I bet they're very sweet tasting because when we saw these plants, there are ants, group of ants just trying to work on these fruits. What they do is they will carry away the flesh and dispersing the seeds. So since these fruits are ready, I pick a couple of fruits. So I cleaned the fruits and I got a lot of seeds. Tonight, I brought in a lot of these seeds to share for the seed depot. You guys are more than welcome to get some of these seeds and try to grow these excellent, amazing, bulletproof cactus at home. They're a lot of fun to grow and the flowers are amazing. So this picture shows the fruits. On the left, it's ripened fruits. On the left, it's unripened fruits. So in the same cases, just like, okay, let me talk about these plants. You see how low they grow in habitat? Actually, a majority of this plant, it's buried in the soil. It's only a small portion of the plant. It's seen. And in winter time, what's more interesting is that this plant, it will pull itself down into the ground, making a hole, making a dent. So in winter time, when you see this, they're not this, they're this in the soil. And you see a ring that they made, looks like somebody is digging a hole and just put this plant in. Yeah, so it's a very different thing when you see plants in spring versus in winter. This is my own plant. So they just flower in the past 3 days. I want to show you how pretty the flowers are. But they're really slow growing. And to get to this size, well, I purchased this plant from Cactus King. So it's a really old plant. And I'm so glad to see the flowers, but I don't have a second one to pollinate to get my own seeds. So I'm glad that I went to the habitat. I collect some for you guys to try. And then our next stop is heading towards Sanderson, Texas. This is the stop that we made because we saw, oh, something look pinkish. It's showing up in the grass. It must be some sort of flower. And we stopped to see them. We find a beautiful population of Ascobaria vivipara. And well, you can see a majority of these little cacti, they like to hide among tall grass. That's their survival strategy. And I try to use some arrows to point at the plants among the grass. I don't know if you can see it, but I'm going to zoom them in. Look, that's the flower show. They are in full blossom. And look, well, going to the desert to hike, we're not only seeing plants, we are also going to see all kinds of critters. So these are, so you can see, yeah. So these are millipedes, the Texas striped millipedes. They are very widespread in West Texas. These insects, they feed on decomposing plant materials and they prefer to live in semi-arid to arid grassland. Because of the slow movement and the bright color that make them very vulnerable to predators from birds and mammals. But to protect themselves, they have the strategy. They roll themselves up into a coil and they can emit a gas that contains a very foul smell of cyanide gas. So that will often trigger a gagging reflex in the predator. But in fact, they are harmless. Yes. So there are more photos of the beautiful flower show from Escobaria by Vipra radiosa. I took these pictures because I was interested in seeing the soil. Do you think that you will grow your cactus in the same soil? Well, this soil is actually very similar to our Houston soil. It's silty clay. So you see, this soil, it works so well for desert plants in the desert, but it's not going to work for you in Houston. So it doesn't make sense if you are going to go to the habitat and grab the same soil and trying to grow the same plant in Houston. Because once the big picture changed, the soil has to change to work for your local environment. Soil is only one piece of the puzzle. Everything has to come together to work. This puzzle works in another puzzle, but it doesn't work to this one in Houston. Okay, let's see this one. So we arrive at Sanderson, Texas. Here, the geology changed again. A majority of the time, we'll see these limestone habitats everywhere. Here we find a group of Neoloidea, conoidea. Well, this Latin name that means cone-shaped. So this is nicknamed the Texas cone cactus. This habitat looks very dry, despite it just rained a few days ago before we visited. But and it is also baking hot in full sun. It's just so harsh that I can't imagine what kind of cacti would love to live in here. And these plants, they are standing alone under full sun, but they are in full flower buds. You have imagined, okay, can the seedlings actually survive in this habitat? But to my surprise, I zoom in to look, there are actually many seedlings hiding underneath the limestone chips. Yeah, so this is my hand, and if you compare to the size of the seedling to a hand, the size is about the same size of my nail tip. You can see the seedlings here. There are actually 8 of them in this picture. So it's just amazing to see how good the small cacti they are when they're young, and they try to mimic the surrounding areas, the surroundings to hide from predators. And so I was trying to imagine how dry this can be in this area. But look up on the upper right corner. What do you see? Do you know what plants these are? It's a desert moss. So there's moss growing in this habitat, seemingly dry. That tells me indicate some good thing to me is that at least in springtime during the night, this place actually get a good amount of moisture to support the young seedlings to grow. That's why this moss can be seen in the habitat. So the moss is actually feed by fog and dew in the desert. So since the desert, they have a huge temperature difference from day and night. It's actually a lot of the precipitations from fog and dew, it's not measurable by rain gauge. So when you read the weather data of how much rain, how much precipitation from rain this area gets, it's inaccurate. They actually get a little bit more than that. So the desert is not as dry as we imagine. And also on this habitat, we saw a couple of nice flat mammillaria hederi settle nicely in it. On the left, there's a plant in partial shade. On the right, there's a plant in full sun, hiding in between the limestones. A crown of flower buds is trying to form on the plant on the left. And I wish I have a picture to show you how these cacti look like in winter. But similar to the horse cripplers in winter, these plants they pull themselves down into the ground. It forms a hole, a dent. So if you would have to see them from a surface level, there's no plant. You have to look down into the hole. Oh, okay, there's a cactus living down in the hole. So here's another one. I want to show you this one because you can see this plant is suffering from some fungus infection. It is actually very common to see plants suffer from fungus infection in habitat. That actually tells you that, hey, the habitat is not dry, bone dry all the time. It has to get a good amount of moisture in order for the fungus to infect the plants. And I also like this Haderite mammillaria a lot because oftentimes you see it likes to share space with other species. So on the left hand upper corner of the mammillaria Haderite, there's Opuntia scutii. This Opuntia, I'm not a fan of this Opuntia. The nickname is dog choya. This cactus is literally indestructible and it will follow you everywhere. Yes, it follows you because the spines are straight and sharp looking, but actually they have microscopic hooks on the spines. And once they stick on you, they will follow you everywhere. And it really hurts. It really, really hurts. So badly. So I didn't know that I actually accidentally brought 2 cuttings of these dog choya back home with me. So now they're in my backyard. I want to kill them by throwing them away and not looking at them, but a few months later, there are more segments growing out. It's just impossible to destroy them. So after seeing this picture from Habitat, you can see plants, cactus, they can actually live together with fungus. So after this, I am not using a fungicide on my mature cactus plant anymore. They just live with it. They thrive. They still flower. They're healthy. I think there might be more side effects by applying excessive fungicide on it than just let them go like this. And on the same habitat, actually not far away from here, we see some Echinocereus and a Acanthus, variety Bravispinus. That means short spine. This cactus is actually has a nickname of strawberry cactus, but this is the short spine version. Usually, the majority of them you see they have extremely long spines and they look quite shaggy. Strawberry hedgehog, strawberry cactus, and on the left side of the picture, you see the plant has some good ripened fruits, and I collected 2 fruits from this plant. So these are the seeds that I bring in for tonight. These flowers, they smell like strawberry, and the fruit smells like strawberry too. And I heard that they taste like strawberry. I didn't taste them, but I believe that it's true. So this is the seed. And these plants, I think they can be tried to grow in the ground when they're in good size. So I'm going to we have actually tried to sow some of the seeds, and once they are big enough, I'm going to try to grow them in the ground. And I want to point it out that here's another Mammillaria Haderite sharing space, sharing room with another plant again. For some reason, I really like this one. And now this is a very beautiful feral cactus, Hamatacanthus. I really like how colorful this plant is. It's out in full sun. It seems like this plant has cracked open the sheet of limestone, and you wonder how does this cactus even live? Does it eat rocks? I checked. There isn't much soil in between the rock cracks, just as much as you and I can see. And all I have to say is this is kind of a miracle species, and it is very underappreciated. This habitat is as harsh as you can imagine. The sheet of rock is solid. I try to knock on it. It's not doing anything. It's so solid that, and it also, it's very hot and dry under the sun. Here's the plant that I have in my collection. I pamper it. Well, I say I pamper it because that's compared to the habitat. And you can see this is the flower. It's a beautiful, huge, and sweet smelling. They bloom in the hottest time in summer. Now, we have come to the favorite plant for many of you coming to listen tonight. And for this plant is so popular among the collectors and hobbyists, Aerocarpus fissuratus. I hope you can find them next time when you go out to hike in West Texas. And many people cannot find them, but it is actually a very widespread species in the Transpeco area and all the way down to the Big Bend. They like very rocky, gentle slopes with a pavement of limestone chips, as you can see on this picture. A typical habitat for them is this broken bits of limestone rocks on gentle foothills. They don't grow on very steep cliffs, but they're on the foothills of some gentle slopes. So next time when you go hiking, you can try to look for these places. When you see a place, oh, that looks kind of similar to this picture, it's hopeful that you can find them. And underneath the rock chips, there are seedlings that they can be protected by the rocks. And actually the young plants, they are very slow growing and they don't need much light to grow. And it take them many years to become visible. You can see in the center of this plant, there are tiny black bits. These are the seed pods from last year's flowers. I didn't have any tools because these are so solid. And I don't want to hurt the plants, so I didn't collect their seeds. This is how the Aerocarpus look like in May, in spring. If you visit this area in late October into November, you can see a huge number of them in flowers. And the rodents love to eat their fruits. When they eat the fruits, they carry the fruit away while they eat, and they will also spill a few seeds. That's one of the ways that the seeds get dispersed. This beautiful one, I don't know how old it is, but it's said to be anywhere around 50 to 100 years. It's very common to see plants this size, about 6 to 8 inches across. The name fissuratus describes all the deep grooves appearing on the tubercles of the stem. The plant is very, very strong, tough like a rock. In summer, this area will receive huge thunderstorms. But in winter, the temperature can fall to about -10 Celsius or about -14 Fahrenheit, or even colder. So this, if you are to grow an Aerocarpus, the fissuratus is one of the most cold-hardy species that it might be okay if you leave it out during the cold. But all the other Aerocarpus species, if you grow in your collection, I would recommend to prevent them from freezing temperatures. But this one is okay. But remember, whenever you see the hardness data that is reported, you remember these data are collected based on habitat condition. In cultivation, the plants are actually less hardy comparing to habitat because it also depends on the condition they are being grown. For example, in Houston, we have such a humid and warm winter all the time, and your plant will not want to go dormant. It does not have the readiness of going into dormancy. So if we have a sudden Arctic blast that's hitting our area and your plant is full of water, they're going to be in trouble. Don't ever expose those full fat succulent plants out in the cold because they're not going to make it. So also there are also other factors that you want to consider. For example, being recently transplanted, and if the plant is grafted, relocated, or if you just got it new, it's not acclimated to our local climate, such as you get it from a California greenhouse, or get it from a big box store that they have. These plants are grown in a California greenhouse. They're not going to acclimate to our Houston climate. So if, for example, if you have got a plant in October and we have a freeze in December, it's not going to get ready for the freeze. You better protect your plant and bring it into your greenhouse and keep it warm throughout this winter for at least a year. And also if you grow a plant in a small pot, it's not going to be as hardy as if it's in the ground, because all the roots will get as hot or as cold as whatever you see on the surface. In the ground, the roots get protected. It's going to be much, much better, much hardier. So one of the benefits of bringing little ones to go on a hike is that they can find all kinds of small gems. So some of the plants, the Aerocarpus, they are out in full sun, but they are also adaptable. They can grow in partial shade. So you can. Yes, the presentation now is going for 46 minutes, but I have about 5 minutes to finish. So please let me finish and we'll move on to the next thing, because I think the previous plan of the month, it has also taken some time. So I would like to finish my slides. It's almost done. So you can see that these Aerocarpus, they are very adaptive. They can grow in full sun or they can grow in part shade. And okay, so my kids, they spotted a few smaller plants underneath the shade. So in nature, to get to about this size, to a mature size, it takes about 15 years. But in cultivation, it can be faster because we provide more moisture and nutrient to the plants that we grow compared to in habitat. And so I would like to mention that in habitats, also in cultivation too, it's rarely seen that there's an animal or something it's chewing on the Aerocarpus fissuratus, because this plant is actually filled with a gluteus fluid that it can determine animals from eating them. So I would like to show you this picture of how the root system look like. If you would grow this plant from seed, this is what you will see from its roots. All Aerocarpus, they are geophytes. What is geophytes? Geophytes are plants with underground storage organs, such as the tuberous roots or an underground cortex, where the plant can hold energy and water to be used. So if you are going to buy an Aerocarpus from a nursery, if they tell you that, hey, my plant is grown from seed, the answer is it's not hard to find out. The truth is not hard to find out by just examining the root system. Here's a very small population of Mammillaria lasiacantha living together with the Aerocarpus. These are small plants that they have very dense white spines, and these plants are very firm to touch. You might have mistaken to think that these can also be a Mammillaria plumosa, but they are not. They are lasiacantha. The way to tell how they're different is that these lasiacanthas, they always almost remain solitary and small size like a ping pong ball. And when you see them in Texas, and it's impossible for you to find a plumosa in Texas because they don't occur in Texas. And these plants that I show on the screen with the red fruits on the left, size of a ping pong, is already a mature plant. It's not going to get any bigger than that. You can see that there are all kinds of animal activities that is on the habitat. They can just carry away the fruit and disperse the seeds. And do you see a saguaro in Texas? Saguaro in Texas. Somebody grow a saguaro in Texas in their backyard. Yes, and if you want to see this plant, you can go to see it. It's at Lantry, Texas, and it's very easy to find because this house just across across the street from the Lantry post office. If you go there, you will see it. I didn't want to believe it's a saguaro until I saw there are actually flowers on the top of the stems. Yes, that's what makes me to believe it is saguaro. And well, this household, I don't know who they are, but I really want to go back to visit them. The owner of the saguaro, he has pretty much every cactus of Texas on his landscape. And you can see there are the strawberry cactus, the Sprabispinus, and you can also see the Echinocereus coccineus, and also a whole bunch of Mammillaria hayderi that we just talked about. And he has more. There's a few huge Texas sparrow, the Ferrocactus hematoacanthus that we just talked about on his backyard. Oh, you can see Ocotillo, you can see a lot of agave in the background, and nice sized yuccas too. Yes, I'm going to go back and knock on his door. Hey, can I visit your collection? So this is our last stop. This is actually near Del Rio, Texas. We came across with this very successful population of Epistantha micromeris. Well, you can see the soil. It's maybe you can see it, but the soil is still slightly moist, and all the plants are green and happy with fruits and flowers. These plants, they grow in limestone rock chips. The limestone covers the soil. There's soil underneath the limestone, so it is not what you see from the surface. The limestone rock chips makes perfect space for seedlings to survive and to start their life. These little plants, when they're big enough, they can push away the rock chips, and here you go. They're seeing the sun. And there are seedlings in this habitat. They're about the size of my thumbnail. Nothing is shading these plants overhead. So if you're growing an Epistantha, it would not appreciate you put them underneath a tree or something, because they really need the amount of sun. And you can see how dense these spines on top of the cactus stem. So it has some blocks. It can physically block away all the unwanted UV light thriving by themselves. Yes, we also find a Coryphantha echinus, but we only find one plant, so I didn't include the picture. I only want to include a lot of them. Oh, I know you love that little plant. Maybe we will show it next time. Okay. So usually if you see a lot of limestones and with something that is kind of moist underneath, this is an excellent habitat where you can find a lot of seedlings, and you can find a good population of something that's thriving. And if you notice on the right hand side, there's the same moss appearing again on this picture. And this moss can be really, really good nursing plant for young seedlings. And that's all of my pictures. So there are some important habitat conditions that you can't see on pictures, and I think they'll be helpful for you to grow cactus. So most of the habitats with cactus, they are high in elevation. So that means it's low atmospheric pressure, and they have very fast evaporation all the time. And the habitats are almost windy all the time. The surface temperature will not remain hot for too long, even though the temperature is high. So high on the mountains, it is much, much cooler than us in Houston on sea level. But high on the mountains, the UV ray is very strong, and humidity is very high at night. So that's what the little plants are drinking from. There is a huge temperature difference from day to night, and it is basically cold at night, sunny and warm during the day. There are precipitations in forms of fog and dew. It is not measurable by rain gouge from habitat. And in the soil, there are lots of microorganisms that they're composing both organic and inorganic matters. to make soil for the plants. And that's something that we cannot copy to use in pot culture. So hard to grow desert plants, hard to grow in Houston. It really depends on, in my opinion. Some are more adaptive than the others, that you don't have to provide the exact same condition as compared to the habitat to grow it here. It will just grow whatever in the greenhouse or outside the greenhouse, in the rain or outside or shelter from rain. They just grow, no problem. But you can do the following things to make them easier to grow in Houston. For general maintenance, such as you improve the ventilation by putting some good running fan in your greenhouse, and it's highly recommended that shelter your cacti from rain in Houston, because it's too much rain for them in here. And if you can do that for them, things are going to be so much easier. And in winter, please keep your summer growing cacti dry and let them rest. Don't worry about watering them because they're just not responding. They're not growing. They don't need water. Rest for sure. The roots are going to be fine. Once spring comes and they're starting to show signs of new growth, just water them and they'll be fine.
We don't have any more time. We have to be here at 9.
Yes.
8:36, and we still have to go through
A program?
I mean,
Yes, but this is the last slide. Do you see?
I don't know.
Yeah, sorry. This is the last line. So I was saying that I have 5 to 10 minutes, and this is on time. And yes, so most importantly, just be patient with your plants and to observe how they respond to the care you provide, and go to see them in nature whenever you can. But mainly, many hard to grow plants, they are actually not hard at all if you understand them. So that's all of my presentation.